Hey all, it's Tammy. I'm back again. This edition will be finished objects, and I hope you like the finished objects that I will be showing you. In addition, welcome back subscribers and new subscribers. And as everyone knows, when I'm not beading, I'm crocheting. When I'm not crocheting, I'm beading. And now that the craft fair is done and out of the way, I need to get back to my beading and get my projects done because I have gotten way behind on them, and I normally don't do that, and I apologize for it. Okay, so up next is the finished objects, so enjoy. Hey everyone, it's Tammy. Beaded Windsocks here. When I'm not beading, I'm crocheting. When I'm not crocheting, I'm beading. This edition is all finished objects, okay, and I have a few of them and all, so bear with me on them. Some of them will be a little bit extensive in explanation, and others will be zippity doo dah. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on that. The first one is the road trip scarf that I stretched into a shawl. Okay, that's this one here. I did not do the adornments because for some reason my hands and my yarn and my brain just were not cooperating to make the flowers. So I've gone ahead and left it as it is. And this took 2 full cakes and approximately a third cake, part of a third cake, about 1/4 of a third of the third cake. And I noticed that as I kept going, the point was getting further and further and further down my back, that I decided it was time to just tie it off, because it's, by the time the point gets to the floor, it'll finally wrap around me, and that's not what I want. That's not how big I want the point to be. You know, it's down past my hips and so forth. So this is it. It's done. And that is how I'm going to go ahead and leave this one. I'm not going to add anything else to it. I'm just going to leave it as it is, and it will be in my craft fair on Saturday. Okay. Eventually, I'll do the road or the day trip scarf and see how it comes out, and see if it's nice and long and can come around and so forth. Okay, up next, the other 3 cake keepers are finally completed. The large one, and like I said, this will hold an 8.8 cake, or even the 10.5 Karen big cakes. This thing will hold it, okay? And then here's one little one, and then here's the other one, okay? And these will go in the Etsy shop after Labor Day. All right. Oh, sorry. Next up is a new design by me that is customizable. It is the Summer Breeze scarf, and I have 2 of them at the moment. Here is one in hydrangea. Okay, got points on it, and this this will use up, except for a small amount, the 3.5 ounce Karen cotton cakes from last year. Okay, when Karen introduced the cotton cakes, they were only introduced in 3.5 ounces. Okay, well, this is what's left of the hydrangea. I could have gone ahead and made it a little longer. And this is what's left of the beach glass. Okay? Now the other thing is that beach glass used an eye hook, I believe, and the hydrangea used an H hook. Yeah. Okay. So this one was done with an eye hook, and this one was done with an H hook, and that is why between the two I have a little bit more left over. Okay. It is a nice, quick, simple pattern. Once you get going with the rhythm of it, it will finish up in an afternoon. No kidding. And if you're one of those speed crocheters, you can have this done up in a couple of hours. All right. So there's those. And if anyone's interested in the pattern, leave a note in the comments. Okay. And I like how those came out. Like I said, they're nice and customizable. They're about 6 inches wide at the moment, but they are 5 feet long. They go from fingertip to fingertip. Okay. Next up, Sara Sach's Grantastic Granny Square Crochet Along. Ah! Okay. I hit a bit of a roadblock with block 5. And block 5, in essence being May, was the flower granny. And I hit a bump in that block no matter what I did. Okay. All right. Oh, excuse me. Okay. Using the H hook that I had started with, and I did up this square. My problem is that this square is only 5 inches big. It's not 6. And no amount of blocking in the world is going to get it to that 6-inch size. Okay? So, I went ahead and redid the block. Oops, hold on. Oh, there they are. I went ahead and redid the block using an eye hook. I redid the block and I went up 1 size bigger. And this is 5.5 inches. And again, no amount of blocking is going to get it to that 6 inches. Okay. So I went ahead and did up the other 3 colors. The blue, the sage, and the lavender. But like I said, they're all only 5.5 inches, even with an eye hook. And I didn't want to go up to the J hook to try and get them to their 6-inch size. So I figured I'll just leave it. I'll probably find another block that I can do that I can get to these 6 inches using only the 5 rounds, and go from there. Okay. All right. I got those done and I put them aside. Excuse me. Next up was block 6, and it is the meshy. I like this one. Oh, notes are running away. And I love this one, and I just sailed right through it. Took me about an hour to do all 4 blocks. I was happy. Okay. Then after that came the block for July, and it is the front post granny. And here's what it looks like. Now, here's the story behind her tutorial regarding this block. And when she mentioned it, I thought, well, I could have done that to block 5. Okay. What she was explaining with the front post granny is that when you work this stitch, it will pull your square towards the center, okay, or the stitches towards the middle of wherever you're working on it. All right. Back in April, Holly Miller did her mystery birthday crochet along, where she had a shawl, and that shawl had front post stitches in it as well. And as I was making her shawl, I found myself pulling the loop up to make it even with the top of the row, and then finishing off the double crochet. Now, in Sarah's tutorial for this block, she only had a 5.5 inch block, and to get it to its 6 inches, she added a 6th row around hers. Mine are 6 inches even on the 5 rounds. She did a 6th to get her 6 inches. If I had gone ahead and just done one color at a time for now, and then gone back and done the rest of them, I would have found that little note for her front post stitch block granny, and I would have gone back to the flower and added a 6th row around it using the eye hook to get the 6 inch block. So right now I don't know if I'm going to go ahead and add that 6th row or add a double row of border around it at this point. I don't know, but I like the square, don't get me wrong. I love the flower granny. I just could not, on 2 different hook sizes, get it to the 6 inches, and no amount of blocking is going to get it to that 6 inches either. And therefore, I didn't want to ruin the block. So, by the end of the cowl, I will figure out what I'm going to do with those. Okay, but my front post squares came out, believe it or not. Now I'll show them to you back to back here. This is the mesh, this is the front post, and if you look at my squares match up. But take the mesh and the flower, they don't come up together. They're still, it's still short. So I don't know. I'm gonna figure something out. Okay, so that's those. The Filet crochet. A couple weeks ago, I took Nicki's Homemade Crafts, and she did a Filet crochet course, and I even picked out a yarn to do one of the patterns with, because I kind of anticipated that that's what she was going to do. But I picked up Red Heart with Love Metallic in white. And when she completed her course, I went ahead and grabbed the yarn and I made this. Now the only problem is that it's kind of hard to see because it is yarn and you need something dark behind it to see it. I don't know if you can see it back there. But it's a snowman, okay? I had a lot of fun with the course. I learned a lot of things about Filet crochet and all. That I want to do her pumpkin and a couple of her other Christmas projects where you would use red. And I have red thread hiding outside to do up the big sleigh that she has and all. Okay? The other thing I did was to try and see this pattern. Oh gosh, just a moment. Okay, to try and see this pattern and all, I have noticed, and I also noticed at our local fair when we went for a school field trip with kids, that you need something dark behind it in order to see it. Because if you don't, you won't be able to see it, period. And there's the snowman I did up in 10 count thread, white thread. Okay, see how nice that came out? And in this one, I even added one extra row on the top of the top hat. I wanted this top hat to be a little taller. I also learned and she will teach you in the course, if you're able to still get it, she will teach you both the positive and the negative, which is the reverse of the snowman, filet crocheting. Okay, now the other thing I also did notice and learned on my own, I didn't see where she covered it. Okay, down here at the bottom, my first row curled up, but I do believe she mentioned something of a frame that you add on just an extra row all the way around, and it will keep this from curling up if you just do a frame. Okay, and I thought, oh, all right, that'll work then. Okay, so put a frame around the whole thing, and it won't curl, it won't roll. So I went through looking for some other patterns, and I found some. So I am going to be doing that from now on, is basically putting a frame around my next snowman. So there's going to be one complete extra row all the way around, so this way it lays flat and all. Okay, one other thing I learned in the course is I learned a new stitch, and the stitch I learned is now my absolute favorite stitch to use anytime a chain 3 or chain 4 is required, where you chain 3 and then you double crochet or treble crochet in the next stitch and all. She taught us the alternative double crochet turning chain, which she calls ADT, and I have to say, I love it. I can now find the top of my double crochet of chain 3. I can find that top stitch now without a problem. Any other time I try and finagle the needle in, or the crochet hook in, and pull it out, I'd find I'd have this big gap or this large hole, and I wasn't liking it because of that. But she taught us that stitch, and I have to tell you, it is my absolute favorite stitch. Okay, I have black in this here was actually 5, not 10. This was 5. I have a spool of 10 in white and 2 spools of 10 in black, and I found that I need to double them up to work with them so that it's not too small of a project that I'm working on. That's all right. I took my 5 count spool that I had picked up to work new stitches with, or to work a project to see how it's going to progress after the fallout from the Whisper shawl. No matter what I did, I could not get that one to come out. I tried and I tried. I finally frogged it out. So I'm looking for a different pattern for it. I've come across a couple of them. I just haven't decided which one I'm going to work with yet. But I will be getting it started, because I have a trip. I'm going on, and I want to pack as little as possible this time in the way of yarn, but enough to keep me busy through the duration that I'll be out. Okay, so one thing would be to take some threads and work on the filet crochets, but I really want to try that Red Heart It's a Wrap in Rainbow again, and I really want to see what I can do with it, because I love the colors that they have. It's just now a matter of getting it to work finding a pattern that I like. Like I said, I thought I liked the Whisper Shawl. It looks absolutely gorgeous. But once I finally got past row 3 and into row 6, it just seemed like it wasn't going the way it was supposed to. So all the way up to row 15 or 16, I think I went ahead and frogged it all back. Didn't want to, but I didn't want to leave it. So I'm going to find a different purpose for the yarn. Okay? But anyway, so this is that little snowman. See? Can't see it without something behind it. It was a great workshop that she hosted. I learned both 3-post and 4-post filet crochet and all. And she says that it's very easy to even make up your own patterns because all you're basically doing is working with squares. Well, you know what? Even with my beads, I already work with squares. So it's just a matter of finding the positive versus the negative. And just having fun with it. Okay? That is it in the way of finished objects for this week. I am still going to be working on Sarah's crochet along. I'm having fun learning the different blocks and all. I just ran into a snag with block 5, and since each skein is supposed to make all 12 blocks and then maybe have enough left over for the border, I don't want to have to go and get additional yarns to do that with, because I'm losing my space with my yarn. I really am. I'm getting constrained at this point. I need to quit buying yarn. I already went on one yarn spree this past week, and I kind of promised my husband that if I bought any more, it would only be one skein for one purpose and one purpose only. And this past week, I did need a black for a project I'm working on for a test pattern, and I left it at that. I didn't get anything else, even though I was tempted to grab a couple of spools of the 10 count thread, since I have some ideas going off in my head that are not filet crochet related. And I decided I better go ahead and hold off, because if I get anything else, we're gonna have issues. We're gonna have problems. So I'm trying not to. Okay. But anyway, that is it for the finished objects. I am surprised the finished objects didn't take up more time, like the works in progress did. Of course, I did have a number of them, and I still have a number of them. Okay. So at this point in time, I will go ahead and close out and let you go. If anyone does have a suggestion regarding block 5, leave a comment below, please. I'd like to hear your thoughts and suggestions. Anyway, be kind, or don't say anything at all. Everyone have a good week. Bye-bye.